Hi friends, welcome to Raising Lifelong Learners. I'm your host, Colleen Kessler, and this is the podcast where I encourage you to trust yourself and your differently wired kiddos as you help cultivate their curiosity, encourage them to discover the world around them, embrace who they are wired to be, all while helping them discover their passions, interests, and raise them to become the amazing adults they're meant to be. Hey, welcome back. This is episode 245. Today we are talking all about building strong family connections and how that can impact for the positive our homeschooling and our family life in general. I've talked about this a lot, both on the website and on the podcast, but I want to kind of hone in on some of the social and emotional especially, as well as some of the academic and cognitive benefits to building strong connections within your family. It's a focus in several chapters of my upcoming book. I have a brand new book coming out July 30th. I'm so excited. Stay tuned. We're going to be talking all about some pre-order bonuses coming. And if you have bought the book already, great. I appreciate it. Pre-sales do so much for us. But hang on to your receipt, whether that's through Barnes & Noble, any other online retailer, Amazon, because as soon as we release those pre-order bonuses, you can go to the website and punch in your receipt number, and then you'll get the bonuses too. It doesn't matter when you buy it. You can go grab the book right now so it can show up on your doorstep on July 30th when it's released. The book is called The Homeschool Advantage, a child-focused approach to raising lifelong learners. And in that book, we're going to talk about a bunch of different things, but particularly building strong family connections as we are talking today. Is a featured kind of theme throughout the book. Okay, this is going to be a good episode, jam-packed, so pop those earbuds in, get somewhere where you can really focus, or go for a walk and just kind of listen and then come back to the show notes later so you can tap into some of the resources that we share. Before we begin, I just want to give a special shout out, as always, to our sponsor, CTC Math. CTC Math is so generous in their sponsorship and their support of not just this podcast, but homeschooling in general. So check them out at ctcmath.com. They are passionate about supporting families, particularly through math, but really in general, just helping to support and sponsor great homeschooling resources like this podcast. All right, let's get on with today's episode. Okay, as I said in the introduction, we're going to talk today about the importance of family connections. And we're going to focus on that particularly from the perspective of homeschooling families. So we know just from, kind of common sense, right, as parents, that having a good connection with your kids and your spouse and then extended family too is super important because it gives you that anchor and that shared experience, growing up. And we want our kids to be connected firmly to the people who love them most, right? We need to remember that there are some unique dynamics when it comes to homeschooling, right? It means that we are spending a significant amount of time together as a family. So on the one hand, it seems like, okay, this is easy. We can easily connect with one another because we're always together, right? Okay, but it also presents the issue of we're always together, so it is easy to get on each other's nerves, and we could fall into that annoyance really easily if we don't take some safeguards. Because we spend so much time together, we need to make sure that we as parents are leveraging this time to build stronger relationships among family members, stronger connections. There are so many benefits to being close as a family. And there are so many ways we as homeschooling families can really tap into the amount of time we spend with our kids, they spend with us, and we all spend together to build a strong relationship from the get-go. So why do we want to do it at all? Like, what's the point? Well, when we have a strong connection to our nuclear family, the people who we spend the most amount of time with when we're young, we learn enhanced communication skills. There is a strong emotional support base, and we can increase the value of the shared belief system we have, our morals and our values, and reinforce that throughout. So with regards to communication, when we have strong family bonds, we are able to facilitate an open and effective communication between parents and kids with each other. And this can expand into all aspects of our kids' lives. I have conversations, especially with my older daughter right now. She's 16. She joins into a theater program at a traditional brick and mortar school and talks to me regularly about the difference in communication that she sees between her friends and their family and us and how we talk to one another. And she'll say, I can't believe so-and-so's mom said that to them in that way. It feels so disrespectful. And she was sharing her child's struggles with, I don't know, a test or an event that they had coming up. And she's like, I would never expect you to share that. You share things that, paint me in a positive light. And I'm just so appreciative of that. We were able to have that conversation because we communicate well and we communicate often. And that can lead our kids to observe the things that are going on around them so that they know how they want to be and how they don't want to be and what kinds of things we do to support their success and the communication between us. It also builds that emotional support system. Like I said, when we have a close family relationship, we have a strong foundation of emotional support. This is crucial during the challenging times all of our kids will face. They are all going to face emotional upheaval at some point. They're all going to struggle with hard classes, difficult people that they have to interact with, a difficult situation, maybe not getting a part in a play that they wanted, or failing a class, or struggling in an area, or having trouble with a friendship or something like that. And so when we are close with one another as a family, we are more able to support them through those difficult emotional issues. It also gives us the opportunity to reinforce shared values and beliefs. We can integrate those into our homeschooling curriculum if we want to. We can integrate them into our conversations. I remember years and years ago, and we're talking over a decade ago when I first started homeschooling, our family didn't start homeschooling for any kind of moral or religious or value-based reason. We started homeschooling purely for academic reasons. The academics, the lack of accommodations that were being made for my son at the time in his school, as well as the social and emotional impact that was having on him. And then as we started homeschooling and I started spending more of that day-to-day time with him and then my younger kids as they came along, I started to realize that one of the side benefits that I hadn't anticipated because I didn't come into it for religious reasons was that I was able to incorporate more of my own values and my family's beliefs. We were able to talk about religion from the perspective that we believe. We were able to, pray before lunch. We were able to do Bible studies if we wanted to. We were able to go to services during the day, during the week if we wanted to, and incorporate that. We were also able to talk about kindness and how we expected each other to be treated. I was able to incorporate a belief system that is firm for me, that we support each other unconditionally as a family. And as long as we're all living together, we're all supporting one another. And still, my 21-year-old is still living in our home. And while he does not enjoy dance recitals and musical theater, he knows that one of our core values is supporting each other in our passions and our interests. And so when my daughter is in a musical, he's got to go to at least one of the run. When my youngest son is doing his hip hop dance recital, even though sometimes that's agonizing to sit through, especially because my son is in 1 3-minute number in a 2-hour dance recital, my oldest is still coming to one of those shows because we support each other fully. And that was an added benefit to homeschooling. I knew I was going to be able to provide a stronger and more personalized academic experience for my son and the rest of my kids, but being able to incorporate those values and really dive deeply into them was something that I wasn't fully expecting and is something that I value now 15 years in, that I can see the benefits of. Okay, so what are some of the things that we can do? Because let's talk practicality. We talk about being stronger, connect in a connected way and joining each other and supporting each other and this, that, and the other. I just gave you a practical way of looking at that with regards to going to sporting events and things like that. But in addition, what else can we do when there's so much going on to make sure that we are connecting as a family? Okay, one nitty-gritty practical thing that we could do is establish regular family rituals and routines. It can be as simple as, when your kids are young, incorporating like Friday evening is family game night or pizza night, or Sunday mornings we all go for a walk together or something like that. It can be as elaborate as, every year on the first day of school, you have this big, huge celebration and whatever. Or for birthdays, we do monkey bread and presents before, and everybody takes the day off to celebrate the birthday person. It can be as simple as once a month we do something as a family together. It can be daily, like we all connect at least one point during the day to have, family morning time or table time or whatever that is. When my kids were young, we did a Bible study curriculum because I had gotten to know the founder of it and loved her and the simplicity of incorporating these Bible stories into our homeschool. My friend Diana created the program Stick Figuring Through the Bible, and it was basically like a doodle Bible curriculum. I'll link to it in the show notes because we haven't used it in years and years since my kids were young. But one of the rituals that we had incorporated when my kids were really little is stick figuring through the Bible. And so we would meet at the table around 10 o'clock in the morning because none of us were early risers and we liked to kind of ease into our day. So everybody would do their own thing. And then at 10 o'clock, we would meet at the kitchen table and the kids would have graham crackers and hot chocolate. And we would stick figure whatever our Bible lesson was that day. And it was great. It was something they looked forward to and they still talk about it and remember it. And so you could do something like that. That was a daily ritual and routine for us. Now it's a little bit harder because the kids are pulled in so many different directions. But we still do, like for birthdays, every year for birthdays, the kids get a choice. Now it used to be everybody got monkey bread for breakfast with candles in it because that started when my oldest son was young. He called monkey bread cinnamon roll donut hole cake because monkey bread looks like a bunch of cinnamon rolls stuck together and like cinnamon donut holes stuck together. And then we would drizzle just simple icing on it like you do for a cinnamon roll. So he called it cinnamon roll donut hole cake. And we would have that every year. But as the kids have gotten older, some of them like donuts better. And so sometimes we have donuts. Sometimes we have cinnamon roll donut hole cake. But the birthday is all about the birthday person. They pick the meal. They pick breakfast, lunch, and dinner. One of those meals can be going out to a restaurant. And we are all about that person on that day. And so they can be elaborate like that. The key is involving our kids in deciding these routines because it gives them a sense of ownership and excitement. We would have surprise rides. This was something, I talk about this in the book actually, and I've talked about it on the podcast before. I would tell the kids to get in the car for a surprise ride and they wouldn't know where we were going. And sometimes the surprise ride was like going to a museum or the science center or the zoo where we had a membership. Sometimes it was just going to the park. Sometimes it was more elaborate and it was an overnight at Great Wolf Lodge or Kalahari Indoor Water Park. But the idea was that, we were doing something together. And so establish some kind of routine and ritual that bonds you. It gives you shared stories. And it's something you can easily involve your kids in that builds those strong relationships. Communicate openly and listen actively. Have regular family meetings where your kids and you can share your thoughts and feelings about what's going on. But practice active listening and model active listening for your kids by summarizing what your kiddos are saying and asking them if you're understanding correctly. When you do this with them, okay, so what I think I heard you say was we should all join together to do family meetings so that we can be on the same page and understand each other. Is that right? Or was there something that I missed? We're actively listening, we're summarizing, we're responding back, and we're asking them for their input so that we're showing them how to be active listeners. And then we're also showing them that we really, truly care about what they think, feel, and believe. We can also prioritize quality time over quantity. So plan focused one-on-one time with each of your kids, doing activities they enjoy. Plan family outings that are focused on something that you're doing and you're disconnecting. Don't use phones or screens during this quality time. Fully engage with your kids and show them how to fully engage, because this is going to help them do the same as they grow older. Sometimes when I talk to parents about this, or even when I think about it on my own, I get a little bit overwhelmed. How on earth am I going to be able to find one-on-one time regularly with every one of my kids? I have 4 kids. We are so busy. I am pulled in so many different directions. Sometimes you have to be creative. A lot of my one-on-one time with my 16-year-old is driving from place to place. She is my most active child. She's not driving herself yet. That will be coming soon. But we spend a lot of time in the car together, driving from thing to thing. So try to spend those times talking to one another, seeing what's going on, debriefing about the activities that she was just at or what she was thinking about when she was there. Talk through things with your kids. And then maybe if you can't isolate a lot of time to do a full-on date night with each of your kids, make sure that you throw one of them in the car to go do an errand with you or something like that. One of the things that I love is that there is a trickle-down effect to this. You will start to see your kids valuing it and doing it too. I watch my oldest, and he's 21. Again, he's living here. He knows at some point in the next year or two, he's going to be moving out. And he's starting to really see the value of spending time with his siblings. And so sometimes he does driving for me. In fact, as I'm recording this right now, he took my girls to their volunteer work and brought my son with him, my other son with him, so he could clear the house out and I could record in silence, which is always a nice thing. But sometimes he'll bring one of his siblings to drop another sibling off anyway, and they'll go do something together. Most recently, he's been taking my older daughter to dance and taking my younger daughter with him, and the two of them have been going and getting sushi together because there's a sushi restaurant right around the corner from the dance studio, and they have an hour to kill. They are going to remember this forever, right? My daughter is going to remember the times her big brother took her out for sushi when he ran errands for mom. These are great things that we've set up because we've focused on and spent the time connecting with one another. When we do that, when we do these things that build these family rituals, these routines, these connection strategies, it helps to show our kids how important family values and goals are and how they can internalize that as they grow. And then in turn, we can do a better job, a more intentional job of instilling those and incorporating them into our family everyday routines and our homeschooling. So for example, we can identify core family values with one another and teach our kids to value them too. So values like honesty, kindness, curiosity, these things can be woven into daily lessons, discussions, and just routines. I value, and my kids now value, curiosity and creativity. And so you can go into any room in our house at any given time and you can find art supplies or projects or kits that you could pull off the shelf. There are so many different things that show that I want my kids to be curious. I want them to discover things. I want them to pull things out to work on. And I want them to create and explore. And we were doing a doodle club today. There's in the Learners Lab, my membership community, again, where we'll be talking about family connections and why it's important to connect with your family as a whole through the activities, lessons, and classes that I do for kids this month, as well as parents, because we do master classes and group coaching and things like that. But we do a doodle club every month where the kids get on for half an hour to 45 minutes with me and we doodle. And so today we were doodling and we were talking about the types of doodles we were doing. They were very loopy. They connect the different hemispheres of the brain, the logical portion with the illogical, creative portion, and how they help us build, new synapses, neurons, so that neural pathways, so we can see interesting things in shapes and try to form a logical picture within the disarray. And my kids know that I value that. And so they rise to the occasion and show me their own creations and their own interpretations of it. They also know I value honesty and kindness, and so they work to be kind to others. And so when they're not, we can talk about that. How does this not uphold our family values? We value kindness above everything, and what you just said or did was not kind. And what could you have said? One idea, tangible idea you could do is create a family vision board or mission statement that reinforces these values. I wrote years ago about creating a family mission statement on the website, and so we'll link to that in the show notes so you can check that post out. We're also able to align our homeschooling with our family values. So if, for example, community service is a core value, we can incorporate volunteering into our homeschool schedule. If your religion is a very specific core family value, you can incorporate religious education into the curriculums you choose or the activities that you do. My kids right now, like I said, my older son is taking the girls to their volunteer work. They both love theater, and they volunteer as teaching assistants in a preschool theater class, actually 2 of them, once a week. And my younger daughter, she's 14, she is about to start a program through the Cleveland Metro Parks Zoo that is a teen volunteer program that she had to write essays and get letters of recommendations to be a part of, and she'll be able to be a part of that for all 4 years of her high school career. Volunteering and giving back while also learning important values themselves are important to us. And so my daughter, who wants to go into something with regards to animal conservation or zookeeping or zoology or animal training, is focusing her talents, her interests on a volunteer opportunity like the zoo program that's also going to teach her important lessons about the things she wants to do with her life, and perhaps even equip her with the skills that she'll need to go into a career based on those skills. Just like teaching a preschool acting class is a valuable skill for someone who wants to be a professional actress. And so these are ways that we can incorporate that as well. Hey there. Okay, so you've heard me talk about CTC Math for months and months, and it is because we just love it here. It has made my homeschooling easier, especially when it comes to math. I'm not a mathy person, and I never have been, but I love CTC because it makes it easy for me. And then when my kids struggle with a certain concept or they're not getting something quickly enough, I can watch the lesson too, and then I can get it. So it's teaching me, really, truly, almost as much as it's teaching the kids, because if I don't get something, I can watch the tutorials. And that exact experience happened to a longtime follower, Sandy, who wrote in, "We started using CTC Math following your recommendation, Colleen. One of my sons is so dedicated. Then, after watching over his shoulder, my other son started using it too. They both do an hour each weekday, their choice." Now, side note here, CTC Math only takes about 7 to 10 minutes per lesson. My kids tend to do 1 to 2, sometimes very occasionally 3 lessons a day. So we're talking like anywhere between 15 and 40 minutes of math a day, max. But Sandy's kids are so into it that they are doing an hour a day, their choice. Okay, so Sandy says, "I even enjoy it myself. I do the lessons with them, which is a handy brush up, and will occasionally do some of the algebra lessons ahead of time. Math was not my strong suit in school, but now I love it, and I wish the program had been available in the 80s. Too many people think they're terrible at math, but I truly believe we all need a method of learning that suits us. CTC Math seems to work for all 3 of us." I asked my 13-year-old son, who's been using the program for about 18 months, what he thinks of it, and in his own words, he said he enjoys reaching mastery in a particular subject because "I know that if I get a question wrong," he says, "I'll have to redo all the questions until I reach mastery. That means I will have a full grasp of the subject, and that's pretty satisfying." 13-year-old. Come on, like you can't beat that. Okay, FYI, Sandy says, I have the pass rate set to 90%. So parents, you can set the rate you want your kids to meet. My settings, depending on the kid, are set between 85 and 95%. I've got one kid who is a full year ahead in math, and he's really good at math, and his is set to 95%. I've got another one who's a little iffy at math, and that kiddo's level is set to 85%. So you get to do what you want to do in it,
And that's amazing. Okay. She goes on to say and finishes off this quote by saying, CTC Math is unlike any platform that's out there. And I just love it. I appreciate you, Colleen. You have a special place in my heart for everything you put into your work, and I appreciate you and all the things you share. Seriously, I'm going to keep sharing resources like CTC Math because they work. They make homeschooling easier, and they allow us to do the things that we want to do with our kids and basically take off of our plates the things we have to do with our kids. Our kids need math. Let CTC do it. Check them out at ctcmath.com. Let them know I sent you. And then if you've got a story to share, I'd love to hear it. All right, let's get back to today's episode.
We can also incorporate into our family values and our homeschooling time the idea that we're a family, we're a team. We get to set and achieve goals together. So we can sit down at the beginning of each year, each semester, each quarter, each month, each week, and set academic, personal, or even adventure goals that involve the whole family. So what kinds of things do we want to learn about this year? What kinds of skills do we want to pick up? What personal goals do each of us have for ourselves, for our own personal growth? And then what kinds of adventures do we want to go on this year? And how do we want to really celebrate the fact that we get to spend this time together and we don't have to sit at a desk every single day? So when we come together to set those goals on a regular basis, it gives us more opportunity to celebrate achievements because we can talk about, okay, our academic goals as a whole for this month were this. How did we reach those? What were each of our personal goals? Did we reach them? Oh my gosh, look at you. You passed your personal goals. So we get to set those goals together and then celebrate our achievements, which strengthen our motivation and our unity together. It gives us these opportunities to pour back into each other and to celebrate successes and to then, as we're going through our days, encourage each other in their personal goals. Like, oh my gosh, I heard you practicing the new song you're working on yesterday. You sounded so good. I can tell the growth that you've had over the last couple months. Oh, hey, I saw that you were outside shooting baskets. You made more than you missed today. What an incredible accomplishment. I'm so proud of you. And we can talk to each other about that, and the kids can start using that language as well. Some of the challenges that we face, when we're trying to really maintain and increase our family connection time is time issues, right? Sometimes we just we get through a whole day and we're like, what actually did I get done today? Did I see my daughter at all today? Or did she kind of just pass when I was busy? And to make sure that we're really getting our family connection time, or we're touching base with each person in our family regularly, we can use a family calendar, a planner to coordinate schedules, allocating family time on those schedules. I have many calendars. Okay. And a lot of productivity people will tell you don't have more than one calendar. And sometimes this just isn't a reality. Sometimes you may have a neurodivergency like me. I have ADHD and I need to see my calendar in multiple places. So my calendar is on my phone, on my Google Calendar, which gives me alerts both on my computer and on my phone. It also gives me alerts through my tablet. I have a big whiteboard calendar in my office that shows me a year at a glance. And I also have a calendar, one of those ones that sits on your desk, a desktop calendar, magnetized to the side of my refrigerator. And all my kids are color-coded, so I have all of their schedules written on the various calendars and then transcribed onto the kitchen calendar so we can see at a glance who needs to be where. And I try to schedule in time that we can spend just together as a family. Involving your kids in creating these schedules can give them a sense of responsibility, help them see where they need to go to find out where they need to be at a given time. My one daughter keeps her calendar on her phone. My other daughter likes to write things down, so she keeps a calendar hung in her bedroom. So time management can be a challenge when we're trying to make sure that we have time to connect as a family, and having your calendars written out or scheduling time as a family is a really great way to kind of combat that issue. It's also a challenge when we're parenting and homeschooling our kids to not get stressed or overwhelmed, and to not think of connecting as a family as just one more thing. We don't have to do anything super differently to make sure that we're connecting as a family. We just need to incorporate the time and the intentionality into our homeschooling and our parenting. So we could, when we get overwhelmed with different things, we can practice mindfulness together, managing our stress together. We could talk about challenges. We can seek family-based solutions, talk about how we can encourage each other and alleviate each other's stress, that kind of thing. But we can also make sure that that connecting with each other isn't another stress. It's just what we do. And so we want to make sure that we make it as easy as possible. We do at least one thing together each day, or one of my friends makes sure that she has a book and a game every single day. So something as simple as that: read a chapter in a book, read a picture book, play one game each day. So you're coming back to the fact that you're connecting together. Some of the things that we want to really encourage when we are talking about building these strong family connections is we want to make sure that we're focusing on building sibling bonds, right? As well as strong parent-child bonds. So let's talk first really quickly about what we can do, maybe some just super simple tips for enhancing our sibling relationships throughout our homeschooling. One thing we can do is we can encourage sibling activities. We can make sure that our kids are working on some things together, maybe a joint project, or they're collaborating on learning something together. Maybe sibling-only outings, like I was talking about earlier with my son taking my daughter for sushi. Logan had never eaten sushi before because anytime I had gotten it, she was turned off by the idea. And so doing that with her brother gave it a whole new kind of interest and angle. And so she was more interested in doing it, trying this new thing. So it could be a social time together. It could be something that they're learning together. Last year, my younger two learned about Jane Goodall together. My older two did projects together when they were younger. My youngest wants to do some coding and some electronic work, and I have a couple kits. I am not very good at that. And honestly, my eyes aren't what they used to be, and seeing the little components is really difficult for my 50-year-old eyes. And so I've been encouraging my 21-year-old to do these activities with his younger brother. It's going to serve two purposes. It's going to give them time together. It's going to give them a shared connection. It's going to give them a shared story that they learned this together, and it's helpful to me. So the friendship and the collaboration that's going to be formed throughout that is something that's going to have these bonding results. The cool thing about that is it gives our older kids opportunities to mentor our younger kids. Now, I don't want my older kids to be parents to my younger kids. In fact, it annoys me when my older kids, particularly like my adult son or my teenage daughter, corrects my parenting or tells my younger kids what they need to do in a disciplinary way. It's my job to be a parent. It's their job to be siblings. That said, the bonding that they get, the mentorship that they get to do, it helps them have the time together. It helps the kids navigate relationships. They're, in this give and take with their siblings, younger and older, they're learning how to interact and deal with difficult people and people in general. And so I love that they get this opportunity to mentor each other and learn from each other. When our kids are working together, though, it's inevitable that conflicts are going to come up. And so to really make sure that we're encouraging the bonds between our kids and not setting them up for failure is that we need to make sure that we have rules or at least structure for resolving conflicts. We want our kids to know that they need to hear each other. They need to find compromises. They need to take turns speaking and listening. We want to model for them respectful communication and empathy during conflicts. And we also want to model for them apologizing. If I lose my temper or I'm rude to one of my kids, I want to apologize for that because I want them to know that everybody makes mistakes. Everybody talks out of turn and everybody says stuff that they wish they hadn't. And it's a mature person who's willing to say, look, I screwed up. I shouldn't have talked to you that way. I was frustrated. There's a better way I could have done it. Will you please forgive me? Thank you for your forgiveness. Now let's see if we can get to the bottom of where our conflict was and how we can resolve it. We want to do that for our kids and give them the opportunity to do that with each other, and giving them a chance to work together and do things together, whether that's a fun outing or a project, gives them the opportunity to get into conflict and resolve it. We also want to make sure that we're, like I said, building our strong parent and child bonds. We want to nurture trust and respect between ourselves and our kids. Mutual trust comes from honoring commitments and being consistent in discipline and rules and regulations. There's nothing worse for a kid than not knowing which parent they're going to get when they get home. There's nothing worse for anybody not knowing the person that they're going to get. And there's nothing worse than trust being broken because a parent or an adult, a loved one, does the whole do what I say, not what I do kind of thing. I grew up in a family that was like that. We had some issues, and there was some emotional, there were emotional challenges that I still struggle with as an adult, looking back on a childhood that had some emotional and mental abuse and unhealthiness. I don't want my kids to have that too. So one of the things I need personally to be cognizant of is that I'm establishing trust. I'm going to honor my commitments. I'm going to honor my word. I'm going to involve my kids in the decision making when it's appropriate, and I'm going to respect their opinions. I may not always agree with their opinions, but I'm going to disagree in a respectful way, again, so I can model with them how to deal with conflict. If I say I'm going to do something, I'm going to do it. And if I'm not able to do it for whatever reason, I'm going to apologize. One of my kids had an appointment on Monday, this past Monday as I'm recording this, and I wasn't able to take them to their appointment. It was an appointment they wanted to be at, but I got sick. I got really sick on Sunday night. I was throwing up. I had the stomach bug that's been going around, and I could not drag myself out of bed. I got up and I canceled that appointment. And instead of just going back to bed and not waking my child up and my child, thinking we missed it or whatever, or realizing later that I didn't wake them up for it, I went in, I woke them up, and I said, look, I am so sorry. I already canceled this appointment today because I've been up sick all night. I am not able to handle the hour drive there, the hour of sitting for your appointment, and then the hour drive back. I just cannot handle that 3-hour round trip today. I'm really, really sorry. My child said to me, it's no problem. Go back to sleep. I hope you feel better. Is there anything I can get you, Mom? That's because I only break my word or cancel an appointment when I can't make it. And I'm going to show respect for their needs as much as possible. This is important because we want our kids to get involved with people who honor their commitments. And if we're not honoring our commitments, we're teaching our kids that people don't. And so we want to model the relationships we want our kids to have when they get older. We also want to encourage independence and responsibility. We want our kids to have age-appropriate responsibilities within the house and the homeschool. We want our kids to rise to the occasion, and we want our kids to be held accountable. There are some dishes in the sink right now as I'm recording this, and one of my children needed to get to somewhere, and they said, I will do that as soon as I get back. I know that those are my dishes. I'm super sorry that I didn't get a chance to do them before I left. Now, had that child not said that, I would have left them there, and I would have said to them when they got home, you need to do that. They said that to me, and I may, if I get done with the stuff that I need to get done, I may do those dishes for them. They acknowledged their responsibility, apologized for the fact that they didn't follow through, and came up with the solution for following through when they got home. If I am able to get done with the stuff I need to get done with before I go pick them up, I may do that for them. But I want them to be responsible. I want them to make their own choices, learn from their consequences, learn from their mistakes, and uphold their bargain. I also want to balance myself in a homeschool. Okay, so this is something that I don't think we talk about enough, and maybe warrants a whole episode. You let me know. Shoot me a message if you think this warrants a whole episode after this. I think that a hard thing that we do as parents who are homeschooling our children is balance ourselves between the role of parent and teacher. We need to sometimes differentiate between like the instructional person I am and the relational person that I am and those interactions. We want to make sure that we keep a positive parent-child dynamic. And so we don't always want to be the teacher. We don't always want to be rolling things into lessons, or we don't always want to be focusing solely on bonding and having family time. We need to strike a bit of a balance. Now, for some of us, our homeschooling, our learning is more naturally incorporated into our day. Like maybe we're unschoolers or maybe we're eclectic that lean more into child-led and interest-led. I'm definitely one of those people. The subtitle of my book coming out next month is A Child-Focused Approach to Raising Lifelong Learners. And so I definitely lean more into my kids guiding the way. But I also need to balance that because if my kid's not getting something, I need to be able to step in and help them with that. But I also need to make sure that I'm not always being punitive or directive and also that I'm not always being a friend. And so balancing that parent-teacher differentiating between those two roles and making sure the dynamics are held fast is something that we need to kind of think about as we build these. All in all, building strong family connections and relationships within the family are foundational to our homeschooling success, but also our kids' social and emotional confidence and the stability that they have going into their life. It's a little bit more difficult sometimes to remember as homeschooling parents and to balance and even to be motivated to do. But it's even more important for us. And we have the time and the ability to do that. So leveraging our time with our kids to build a strong bond with them and help them build strong bonds with each other is so, so important. As I said at the beginning of this episode, we are diving deeply into this concept, this topic, in June in the Learners Lab. Now, if you join the Learners Lab, anytime you join the Learners Lab, you have access to any of the past activities and things that we've done. So you can always join later, or if you're listening to this later, you can always join and go back and catch the replays. But if you want to get in on the live masterclass about building family connection and the live kids classes about why connections are important and how they can connect with each other better, and the doodle club and the other things I talked about, you're going to want to join now. If you just want a taste of it, you have an opportunity to just sign up for the masterclass for the month and join us for the masterclass and learn more deeply about the importance of building strong family connections and how to leverage that in your homeschool and in your everyday life to build strong family bonds and confident, socially and emotionally aware and resilient kids. Links to all of those things are going to be in the show notes. The masterclass, the Learners Lab itself, the pre-orders for the new book, and then all the other resources that I talked about, past episodes where I've talked about family connections, resources on the site where we talk about family connections and mission statements. So check that out over at raisinglifelonglearners.com/podcast. And if you want some more specifics about any of these topics that I talked about, shoot me a message. There's a contact form over on the show notes. There is a voicemail widget. You can send me a voicemail. I'd love to hear from you. Tell me what your takeaway was from this episode. Tell me if you want to hear more about balancing teacher-parent roles. Tell me if there's a topic you want me to cover. Shoot me a message. I'm here for you. I want this to be a resource that is beneficial to you and is exactly what you need to thrive in your homeschooling. Whether you are brand new to homeschooling, whether you've been doing it all along, and no matter how your kids are wired. I talk a lot about neurodivergent kids, kids with ADHD, gifted, twice exceptional, autism, anxiety, all the different flavors of neurodiversity, and how we can thrive while homeschooling neurodivergent kids. Spoiler alert, you can do it. You can do it well. I'm here to support you through the podcast, through my writing, through my books, through the Learners Lab community. That's the best place to go to be surrounded by others who are homeschooling, quirky, outside the box, neurodivergent, differently wired thinkers like you and your kids. So check it out. Again, show notes, raisinglifelonglearners.com/podcast. And if you are looking for a math curriculum, like I said earlier in this episode, CTC Math cannot be beaten. It is adaptable. It is structured where you have access to all the different grade levels. It is inexpensive and it's good. It's good. They care about you. They care about your kids. They care about homeschoolers, which is why they support so many podcasts and newsletters and magazines. They are really great, generous sponsors. So even if you just check them out at ctcmath.com And if you're already sold on the math curriculum you currently have, or you are subscribers to CTC Math, let them know. Thank them for the support they give homeschooling families, whether you're a customer or not. If you are a customer, tell them you appreciate them. Tell them you heard about them on Raising Lifelong Learners and that you appreciate their sponsorship just like I do. All right, I will be back same time, same place next week with another episode, this time an interview. It's going to be one you don't want to miss. I can't wait to hear from you all about what you thought about this episode or things you want to hear from me in the future about. In the meantime, enjoy your kids, go on those adventures, set some personal goals, academic goals, adventure goals, and let me know what those are. Enjoy your kiddos this week. I will talk to you soon. Bye for now.